Roswell Incident, UFOs, and Government Cover-Ups. Part 1. Something Fell from the Sky. Good evening, dear listener. As you settle into your bed tonight, let everything soften. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts drift like clouds through a quiet desert sky. Now imagine this. It's the summer of 1947. The air is dry and still, and somewhere in the open plains outside Roswell, New Mexico, something strange falls from the sky. Not a plane, not a balloon, something else. That's how the story begins. A rancher named Mac Brazel discovers strange debris on his land, scattered across a wide field. Thin metal sheets, smooth rods, strange symbols that shimmer in the light. They don't burn, they don't bend, and no one seems to know what they are. He gathers the pieces, takes them to town, and from there, everything changes. The army gets involved, a press release is issued, a flying disc has been recovered. Excitement spreads, but the very next day, they take it back. Now it's just a weather balloon, they say. Nothing to see, nothing unusual, but something about the way they said it didn't sit right. Too fast, too rehearsed. And that's when the real story begins. Not with the crash, but with the cover-up. And tonight, we'll walk gently through that story, not to find answers, but to feel the quiet weight of mystery. Let your mind float. You are safe. And the desert sky is wide enough to hold more than one truth. So lie back, and let's begin with the sound of something falling where it wasn't supposed to be. Part 2. The Day the Story Changed. Welcome back. The wind is soft now, brushing across that wide desert plain. The pieces are still there, scattered, silent, waiting. But by morning, the silence would be broken. News spread fast. RAAF captures flying disc in Roswell region. That was the headline. Short, clear, shocking. It was the first time the US military openly said they'd found something from the sky. Not a balloon, not a plane, a disc. People started asking questions. Phones rang. Reporters gathered. But almost as quickly as it came, the story changed. A new statement was released. It wasn't a disc after all, just a weather balloon. Standard equipment, nothing more. Photos were taken. Men in uniforms holding torn balloon parts. Something that looked ordinary, forgettable, but it didn't match what the rancher saw, or what the first reports said, or the strange metal that didn't bend, didn't burn, didn't behave like anything anyone had seen before. And just like that, the mystery slipped into shadow. Some accepted the explanation. Many did not, because the shift was too sudden, too forced, like a page torn out and replaced. This wasn't just about debris anymore. It was about control. Who decides what we're told? Who decides what we forget? That's what kept the story alive. Not the crash, but the way it was buried. And maybe, just maybe, you can only hide something for so long before it starts to speak again. Tonight, let that quiet contradiction sit with you. The first report, and then the silence. Zeus. The truth, and then the cover. Let them drift around you like dust in sunlight. Soft, still, unsettling, because somewhere between them, the real story waits. Part 3. The debris that didn't belong. Welcome back. The sun is low now, casting long shadows across the desert floor. The pieces are still there, at least in memory. Fragments of something strange, something that didn't fit. Tonight, let's return to that debris. Because it wasn't just metal. Witnesses described it as something else entirely. Thin sheets that couldn't be torn or burned. Rods with unusual weight. Symbols, unfamiliar, almost like writing, but not in any language anyone recognized. One man said the material folded in his hand, then unfolded itself perfectly without a crease. Another said it floated for a moment, like it resisted gravity, and some claimed the pieces were warm, even after days on the ground. None of it matched any known technology of the time, not military, not civilian, not from here. And that's when the story deepened, because if the debris wasn't from a balloon, what was it? That's when the word extraterrestrial began to appear, not in headlines, not in official reports, but in whispers. It's easy now to think of aliens as part of popular culture, but in 1947, it was new, unspoken, a little frightening. The idea that something could come from the sky, uninvited, unrecognized, and real. And maybe that's why the cover-up came so quickly, because whatever fell outside Roswell, it didn't belong. And when something doesn't belong, it makes people uncomfortable. It challenges the rules, and the world likes its rules. So instead of asking more questions, the government said, "Look away, there's nothing here." But the pieces stayed in boxes, in basements, in memory. And for those who touched them, the feeling never left. So as you drift here now, imagine them again. Strange symbols under your fingertips. A weight that feels too light. A material that doesn't behave like it should. And a quiet truth that maybe, just maybe, this wasn't made by human hands. Part 4. The Men in Uniform. Welcome back. You're deeper now. Breath soft, mind open. And the story continues quietly, under layers of dust and silence. Tonight, let's talk about who showed up next. Because it wasn't just ranchers and reporters. It wasn't just curious townspeople. It was uniformed men. Fast, organized, tight-lipped. The military came in quickly. Too quickly, some say. Trucks rolled into the fields. Roads were blocked. Witnesses were told to leave or stay quiet. Mac Brazel, the rancher who found the debris, disappeared for several days. When he returned, he looked different, tired, careful, and when he spoke, his story had changed. The strange metal, gone, now it was just balloon parts. Nothing special, but those who knew him said something wasn't right. He wasn't a man who lied, and he didn't look like someone who had simply changed his mind. He looked like someone who had been told to forget. This pattern would repeat again and again. Witnesses recanted. Photos disappeared. Reports were rewritten, and the ones who spoke too loudly, they were visited by men in suits, men with no names, men who smiled without warmth. They didn't threaten, they simply reminded. It's best to stay quiet. You saw a balloon, right? And slowly the story folded inward, hidden, tucked away, but never erased. Because you can bury a story, but not a feeling. Not that sensation that something strange has passed through a place, and left a mark. So tonight, feel that mark, not as fear, just a shadow of a truth, too heavy for the headlines, too strange for the official story, too real to forget. Part 5. What the Witnesses Remembered. Welcome back. You're resting in the quiet now, deep in the space between memory and mystery. And that's exactly where the Roswell story lives. Because even though the headlines faded, the people didn't forget. Years passed, decades. But slowly, the witnesses began to speak again. Not all at once. Not loudly, but with that quiet conviction that comes when something has stayed buried for too long. Nurses, technicians, civilians, even retired military. They remembered things that didn't make sense. Unmarked crates, late-night transports, rooms locked and guarded, pieces of metal that behaved strangely. Some describe seeing small bodies, humanoid, but not human, fragile, grey, too still. Others denied it completely. But the ones who remembered, they remembered with detail, with weight, with emotion. You could hear it in their voices, not excitement, not conspiracy, but something gentler, like they had carried this secret for so long. And finally, someone was asking the right question. What did they see? We may never know, but what matters is this. They believed it. And belief, especially quiet, steady belief, is hard to fake. So tonight, let their memories drift through your mind, like stars across a dark sky. You don't need to decide what's real. You don't need to take sides. Just listen. To the old man who remembers a strange body on a stretcher. To the nurse who saw something taken away in the middle of the night. To the rancher who never really stopped wondering what he found in that field. These are not stories. They are people. And sometimes, that's enough. Part 6. The Cover Story. Welcome back. The night is deeper now, and so is the silence. But beneath that silence, a story was being rewritten. Because after Roswell faded from the papers, something new began to form, a cover story. In 1994, nearly 50 years later, the US government released a new report. It admitted the original weather balloon explanation wasn't quite accurate. Instead, they said it was part of something called Project Mogul, a top-secret mission, not about aliens, but about spying. The project involved high-altitude balloons designed to detect Soviet nuclear tests. Advanced, yes. Strange, yes. But earthly. So that's the new story. The material was experimental. The secrecy was national security. The confusion? Understandable. And maybe that's true. Maybe that's all it ever was. A military secret misunderstood by a curious public. But something doesn't quite fit. Why the immediate silence? Why the shifting details? Why so many people, decades later, still feel like something was left out? Even Project Mogul feels like a shield, a polished answer layered on top of something older, something that doesn't quite want to be found. And that's the part no report can erase. The feeling that the truth was too strange to explain, so it was replaced, maybe not to deceive, maybe just to protect. But once something is hidden long enough, it becomes hard to recognize again. So as you rest here now, imagine two stories, one official, one whispered, and somewhere between them, the truth drifts like desert wind, invisible, undeniable. Part 7. The Hangar in the Desert. Welcome back. You're deep now, drifting through the calm like a dust trail behind a long-forgotten convoy. And tonight, we arrive at the place where the wreckage may have gone. Hangar 84. That's the name whispered by those who looked too closely. A secure military hangar at Roswell Army Airfield. Quiet, unmarked, but closely watched. They say after the crash, strange material was stored there. Crates, fragments, and maybe something more. Some described bodies, wrapped tightly in coverings, rolled through the corridors on stretchers. Witnesses claim they saw the crates being loaded into planes, flown out at night. Destination unknown. Some say Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Others say somewhere even more hidden. But the path always leads into silence. Files lost, photos gone, rooms sealed, records redacted. It's said that not even everyone in the military knew what they were guarding. Just orders. Move this, protect that, ask no questions. And maybe that's how it worked. A mystery inside a mystery, wrapped in security and time. By the 1960s, the stories were barely whispered anymore. By the 1980s, they came back. And now, we're still asking, what was stored in that hangar? Metal, memories, mistakes, or something that didn't come from here. So as you lie still, imagine it now. A dark hangar, under moonlight, one door open, and inside, something resting under canvas, waiting, not lost, not gone, just hidden, and maybe still watching. Part 8. The Silence Between Stars. Welcome back. You're resting now in the quietest part of the story. No more headlines, no more reports, just the hum of the unknown. Because maybe Roswell isn't just about what happened. Maybe it's about what it meant. For the first time, the world considered something bigger, that we might not be alone, that someone might be watching, not from the future, but from above. And that thought, it never really left. It lived in comic books, in films, in stories told late at night under starry skies. But for those closest to it, the idea wasn't fiction. It was a presence, a soft feeling of being observed, a whisper in the dark, a light in the sky that didn't follow the rules. Since Roswell, sightings have multiplied. Disc-shaped crafts, triangular silhouettes, maneuvers that defy physics. No sound, no heat, no explanation, and sometimes they vanish as quickly as they appear, just like that day in the desert. So maybe the silence around Roswell was never about hiding the past. Maybe it was about protecting the present. Because if the crash was real, then the question isn't just what fell, it's what else is still out there, and what do they think of us? Curious, bold, messy, brilliant, or maybe just learning. Tonight let the stars above your closed eyes feel closer. Let the silence between them feel full, not empty, full of watchers, travelers, visitors, not to fear, just to wonder, because wonder is how it all began. Part 9. The Watchers in the Light. Welcome back. You're floating now weightless, as if your body has forgotten gravity. And in that stillness we turn to the eyes in the dark. Because every mystery has two sides, what we see, and what sees us. Roswell didn't just leave debris in a field, it left a question in the air. If something was watching us, for how long had it been there? Not all sightings are accidents. Not all lights in the sky are random. Some are steady, slow, purposeful, like observers, studying, recording, learning. The ones who study the Roswell story often say the same thing. It didn't begin in 1947. That was just the moment we noticed. What came before? Lights reported by pilots in the 1930s, unexplained objects during World War II, Foo Fighters they called them, encounters in remote areas, long before radios could carry the stories far. Maybe Roswell wasn't their arrival. Maybe it was their accident. And if something crashed, that means something was here, not just passing through, present, and not just seen from Earth. Astronauts, pilots, military personnel, many have quietly admitted they've seen things they can't explain. Always the same feeling. A presence, not hostile, not loud, just watching. So as you lie here, eyes closed to the stars, imagine looking back. What if something was just beyond the sky? What if it still is, not waiting for us to act, just waiting for us to see? And maybe, on that summer day in 1947, we saw more than we were meant to, and the watchers saw us see it, and chose silence for now. Part 10. The Truth That Never Left. Welcome back. This is the final drift, the last quiet mile in a long, slow journey through wonder. Let's return to that field outside Roswell. Dry earth, open sky, a story half buried, but never gone. Some say it was just debris, a misunderstanding, a moment rewritten and forgotten. Others say it was the moment everything changed, when we stopped looking at the stars as empty and started wondering who might be looking back. And maybe the truth lives somewhere in the middle. Maybe Roswell is a mirror. It shows us how we react to mystery, to power, to possibility. Do we bury it? Do we fear it? Or do we listen? Because here's what matters most. No one who was there ever truly forgot. They felt something, saw something, and no explanation could quite erase it. And tonight, you felt it too. Not the event, but the space it left behind. A quiet shape in the dark, a story whispered more than told. Something that maybe didn't come from here, or maybe it did. Maybe it came from the part of us that wants to believe, that knows the universe is too wide, too deep, too full to be silent. So sleep now. Let the mystery rest beside you. You don't need answers, only wonder. And in that wonder, the stars stay just a little closer, watching, waiting, and maybe, just maybe, remembering Roswell too.